tal? ¿Cómo están? Muy buenos días. Ya estamos de vuelta aquí en el TechWeek, después de esta plática muy interesante por parte de la empresa Siemens, que la verdad nos dejó pues con muchas inquietudes y muy entusiasmados acerca de estas tecnologías. Pues bueno, vamos a continuar sin antes agradecerle a nuestros patrocinadores de este TechWeek 2020. Agradecemos el patrocinio de Siemens, Milwaukee, Schneider Electric, Lutron, Argos, Charofil, Honeywell, Viacom Prolec, Panduit, Cima Energía, IAJ y Lucesa. Recuerden que las conferencias continúan. Hoy es el último día del TechWeek. Solamente les recuerdo cuáles son las siguientes conferencias. En este momento vamos a continuar con el Foro de Negocios, con Quebéc. Posteriormente vamos a tener tendencias en el control de la iluminación del 2021. Continuando con edificios de gran altura y concluyendo con la última conferencia que tiene como nombre Smart Cities, Funcionalidad, Rentabilidad y Vanguardia. Pues bueno, para esta conferencia les quiero hacer un preámbulo. Dentro de una de las estrategias que está haciendo Americ es una comisión internacional en la cual queremos vincular países, empresas de otros países para enriquecer nuestras propuestas como instaladores, como contratistas, tener una propuesta técnica competitiva y también financiera. Y por ello estamos muy contentos aquí con gente de Quebec, que nos va a platicar, que nos va a decir las opciones que podemos tener trabajando con ellos. Y para esta plática vamos a tener como anfitrión a nuestro presidente Andrei López. Lo voy a presentar. Él es presidente de Americ, fundador de Cima Energía, actualmente consejero de la Unión Mexicana de Asociaciones de Ingenieros de la UMAI y colabora en el Comité de Relaciones Gubernamentales de la UNE. Él estudió Ingeniería Industrial y de Sistemas en la Universidad del Valle de México. Tiene una maestría en Negocios y Tecnología por el Collective Academy. Realizó un diplomado de alta dirección en Americ. Estudió el máster en Gestión y Dirección de Renovables a Distancia en la Universidad Católica de Ávila, en España. Y actualmente está en el programa D1 del IPADE. Su reto más importante en la vida es educar a Dominic y Ellis, que es el motor de su vida. Pues bueno, los dejo, mucho éxito. Yo voy a intervenir en la segunda mitad de esta plática. Adelante.
Muchas gracias, Luis, y les doy la más cordial bienvenida a todos. Sean muy bienvenidos. En nombre de Aparición, y como los tengo aquí en pantalla, y por supuesto primero las damas, quiero dar la más cordial bienvenida a la señora Stephanie Allard, delegada de Quebec en México. Señora Stephanie, muchísimas gracias y quiero decirle que a nosotros nos honra mucho con su presencia el día de hoy en esta charla y foro de negocios entre Americ y Quebec. Bienvenida.
Muchas gracias.
También quiero dar la bienvenida a Ryan Sen de Distech Control. Ryan, bienvenido.
Muchas gracias.
Oh, well, I think most of you speak English, right? Because I'm speaking Spanish. Well, so sorry. Well, Ryan, welcome to Americ and welcome again. Next, here, as I have on my screen, Alexandre Darche. Alexandre, welcome to Americ. And let me tell you that I read your message inbox in LinkedIn. Sorry, I was going to answer the message, but well, I could not, but I read it. Thank you and welcome here.
Thank you very much.
Now I see here on my computer, Bernard Tutu Demon. Bernard, welcome. Good morning and thanks to be here.
Gracias.
And well, Adrian Gonzalez. Adrian, how are you? The guy that just pushed all this relationship between America and Quebec. Thanks to be here today and welcome to America.
Thank you very much, Andre.
And finally, here I have on this well, I see Olivia Dion from Investment Quebec International. Olivia, how are you today?
Very good. Thank you very much, Andre.
Welcome to America. And well, let me welcome everybody. I'm as Luis speak in the beginning. I'm the current president of Americ. We are an association from 47 years in Mexico, which touches industries such as energy, HVAC, telecommunications, and water. So, and well, I'm gonna ask Mrs. Stephanie Allard to give us some words, and welcome to this this meeting between Americ and Quebec.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias. Muchísimas gracias. ¿Me entienden bien?
Sí.
Sí. Bueno,
Excelente.
muy bien. Muchas gracias. Entonces, bueno, muy buenos días a todos y a todas. Y bueno, bienvenidos en este seminario virtual sobre la innovación de Quebec en el sector de tecnologías para la gestión y el control de edificios. Bueno, como delegada general de Quebec en México, yo tengo el gran gusto, el honor de dirigir a un equipo muy performante que es multidisciplinario, dedicado a promover los varios intereses que Quebec tiene en México. Y uno de nuestros principales mandatos es vincular a las empresas de Quebec con sus contrapartes mexicanas para desarrollar negocios conjuntos. Y entonces, bueno, les agradezco mucho a Americ por otorgarnos esta oportunidad de dar a conocer la creatividad y el talento de algunos emprendedores quebequenses. Y bueno, la creatividad es algo que nos define mucho como quebequenses. A pesar de ser un pueblo de solo un poco más de 8 millones de habitantes, nuestras empresas tienen una presencia internacional que es muy fuerte, que es muy importante. Y uno de los sectores en los cuales nos destacamos es el sector de tecnologías de información y comunicaciones, que ocupa más de 200,000 trabajadores en la provincia. Esto se debe, entre otros, a nuestras universidades. Montreal siendo una de las ciudades universitarias más vibrantes de América del Norte y del mundo. Se debe también a nuestros centros de investigación y de desarrollo y a nuestro ecosistema de innovación que es de clase mundial. Y este ecosistema de innovación, junto con los costos de operación más bajos al norte de México, permitió atraer muchas empresas internacionales como Google o Microsoft, así como la emergencia de numerosas startups tecnológicas estos últimos años. Por ejemplo, el sector de óptica fotónica, que creció alrededor del Instituto Nacional de Óptica de Quebec, nos permitió desarrollar una gran pericia en el sector de telecomunicaciones de fibra óptica y de sensores. De la misma manera, la industria de software está muy vinculada con nuestros centros de innovación y atrajeron a numerosas empresas internacionales que vinieron a aprovechar el talento local en modelización 3D y videojuegos, por ejemplo. Más recientemente, la investigación llevada a cabo en las universidades de Montreal y de McGill posicionó a Montreal como uno de los polos más importantes del mundo en el emergente sector de la inteligencia artificial. Y de hecho, Montreal es sede del supercluster canadiense de la inteligencia artificial que se llama Scale AI. Este supercluster tiene como propósito de sacar la inteligencia artificial del laboratorio y integrarla en todos los sectores de actividad. De hecho, lo que acabo de mencionar puede parecer abstracto a primera vista, pero cada una de las capacidades que acabo de mencionar tiene una aplicación concreta en el sector de gestión de edificios y de ciudades inteligentes. La empresa Dimonov del señor Bernard Tetsu integra tecnologías de sensores e Internet de los objetos para la gestión inteligente de los activos con la finalidad de generar eficiencia energética y mejorar la seguridad de los usuarios. La empresa Zistec Controls, representada por el señor Ryan Sand, utiliza la inteligencia artificial para asegurar la salud y aumentar el bienestar de los integrantes, lo que es un asunto bastante importante en los tiempos actuales, ¿no? de pandemia. Y finalmente, la empresa SenseQuake mezcla un software de modelización con sensores y el Internet de los objetos para asegurar la integridad de los edificios y mitigar los impactos de los eventos sísmicos. Nos da entonces mucho orgullo estar con ustedes para compartir estos conocimientos y contribuir a construir edificios y ciudades más sustentables y más resilientes. Entonces, muchísimas gracias nuevamente por esta muy amable invitación y se le devuelvo la palabra.
Muchas gracias, señora delegada Stephanie. Y entiendo cada persona va a hacer una presentación de lo que hacen, así la dinámica de este panel. And okay, now thank you very much, Mr. Stefaniela. Now I understand that we are having some presentation about any of the people here in this panel. So Adrian, I don't know if there is any role for starting for who's going to be first.
Yes, we can start with the presentation from Ryan San from the company Stack Controls.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm truly honored and privileged to be part of the TechWeek Expo this year. I'm Ryan Sen, Vice President of International Sales at Distech Controls, and I have the privilege to present this morning's session on healthy and trustworthy buildings. Today, more than ever, ventilation has become a critical component of non-residential buildings. A defective or underperforming system can have serious consequences on the health of occupants by facilitating the transmission of viruses and bacteria. Throughout this presentation, we will discuss the technologies available on the market today that can assist with the safe return of people to spaces such as offices, stores, educational institutions, hospitals, hotels, and more. At all stages of our lives, we expect the spaces we occupy to be healthy and trustworthy spaces so that we can grow, learn, work, and socialize with peace of mind. Today, healthy and trustworthy buildings are also essential for rapid and sustainable economic recovery. When you think about it, how much time do we spend in public places or on public transport, working and collaborating with different people? How does one ensure that these interactions, inherent in all human activities, will not have a negative impact on our health and on our family and friends? More importantly, how can we possibly achieve this so-called peace of mind? The recent pandemic has made us aware of the importance of occupying healthy and properly ventilated buildings. It has also shaken some of our foundations. Certain gestures and habits previously considered harmless are now truly being questioned. For example, shaking hands to say hello, touching a door handle or a light switch, or even hugging a loved one who may be vulnerable. A study on post-COVID work habits carried out in Europe in June of this year shows that 43% of people who must return to their workplace are concerned about the hygiene measures that will be put in place to ensure a healthy environment. A return to normality can be accelerated by providing effective and easy to implement responses to reassure the occupants that these buildings and the workplaces are both safe and healthy. There are two types of measures that we will focus on today: proactive solutions, which reduce the risk of contagion, and reactive solutions that ensure optimal risk management if for various reasons a contaminated person comes to visit a building. So today we'll start off with the various proactive measures that can be put in place, which include managing indoor air quality, detecting occupied spaces, mastering infection control, providing contactless comfort management, ensuring social distancing, and selecting the actual individuals who can have access to the building to begin with. The American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineers, known as ASHRAE, has published COVID-19 building readiness/reopening guidelines, and they're posted on their website at www.ashrae.org. These guidelines have 4 key criteria that are addressed. The first is to increase the ventilation rate. Ventilation, when used properly, allows for the dilution of virus-laden aerosols, which are then extracted from the room or space. Increased ventilation rates are also recommended to control airborne diseases, provided that these systems are used appropriately, i.e. without recirculating the air and directing flows from clean areas to potentially contaminated areas. The second is to increase the rate of air renewal. More frequent air exchanges will provide more fresh air, but have technical and economic limitations. Systems are generally designed to recirculate 90% of the air in the building, and therefore inject 10% fresh air, which corresponds to an optimum of energy consumption and the well-being of occupants. A consequent change in these ratios can lead to expensive system modifications and will, in any case, have the immediate consequence of an increased energy bill. The third criteria addressed is the use of Hepa filters. Every good ventilation system should have a Hepa, or high-efficiency particulate air filter. This standard allows for certain levels of performance in terms of filtration, i.e. to stop 99.97% of particles with a diameter greater or equal to 0.3 micrometers. And the fourth is to kill bacteria and inactivate viruses in HVAC systems. Essentially, another method to prevent the spread of germs and bacteria through ventilation is to use UV or ultraviolet lamps placed within air handling systems. After having been exposed to sufficient power and duration of UVC light, they no longer present a health risk. So now that we know what can be done to ensure proper indoor air quality, let's see how we can manage spaces better. With the advent of working remotely in the wake of the pandemic, offices shared by several employees could become the norm for open spaces, especially in cities where rent's expensive and space is scarce. Indeed, why rent, cool, and clean a space that can accommodate all employees if they're teleworking 2 or 3 days a week? However, these shared spaces represent a real challenge in terms of disinfection and cleaning. In order to assure each employee that he or she is not at risk of being contaminated by the previous occupant in that shared space. The room and desk presence detectors, which record in real time if a space or desk is occupied and allow you to keep a record of occupancy over time, allow facility managers of buildings to know the occupancy rate of the building dynamically over a period of time, and allows them to prioritize a plan for office and spaces to be disinfected first in priority. As we've just seen, occupancy sensors make it possible to select the spaces to be disinfected as a priority in order to offer the healthiest and most trustworthy spaces. But once these spaces are identified, there are two methods to ensure the disinfection of services. The first, of course, is to use a cleaning team with the right products and methodology who will come in to disinfect the previously occupied workspace with the appropriate detergents and germicide. The second is the reduction of pathogens on visible surfaces of collaborative spaces with filtered 222 nanometer far UVC light, capable of inactivating viruses and killing bacteria in a short period of time at energy levels that don't harm the eyes or skin when designed with appropriate parameters, allowing it to be used in occupied or unoccupied spaces. Both of these two solutions are valid, and the choice really depends on how frequently the surfaces need to be cleaned. When it comes to comfort management today, individuals are reluctant to touch door handles, let alone the thermostat on the wall. However, what could be more personal and trusted than your own mobile phone? With some of the latest generation technology available through Distech controls today, you actually no longer need to touch the equipment on the wall to personalize your comfort. Everything can be done securely from your personal phone. The My Personify app from Distech, for instance, can manage all of the comfort of a room from a single application, one that's available free of charge, and includes the ability to adjust room temperature, the lighting levels, the sunshade position, and even allows to select predefined scenarios, such as video projection mode in a conference or meeting room. The My Personify Workplace app is another application available from Distech Controls, which offers all of the services to simplify the life of an office worker, such as comfort management as discussed, but also indoor positioning, wayfinding, room reservation, social networks, company news, as well as an easy-to-access catalog of services that are offered to the occupants in that building. It allows you to limit and optimize travel within a building to avoid certain areas when moving from one place to another. It also makes it possible to reserve meeting rooms from an employee's phone, thus avoiding the need to touch the screen, sometimes found in front of meeting rooms to reserve it for a specific time. And if you need a more personalized application, one that's aligned with your organization's brand policy or corporate identity, it's also possible to add the comfort features offered by MyPersonify into your own fully customized mobile application experience. In addition to contactless technology, we need tools to enable us to keep socially distanced. Traditionally, people counting sensors are generally implemented to understand how spaces are used and to ensure that the partitioning of usable space is adapted to the occupant's needs. In the context of a smooth return to office, the data collected by this type of sensor, i.e. the number of people in a zone, can be used to ensure that the density of people per area allows for social distancing. So why not set up a restricted access system based on the maximum number of people allowed in a zone and provide visual signage indicating that the zone's accessible? In a workplace, a device like this would generally be considered less obstructive than using, access control gates or barriers. Moving on, how can we try to restrict access to the building or space to those only who are deemed healthy? According to the WHO, the World Health Organization, 80% of coronavirus infections are mild or asymptomatic, which makes it challenging to identify contaminated persons. However, many asymptomatic patients also suffer from severely low blood oxygen levels without even realizing it. Providing an oximeter at the entrance to the building and encouraging occupants to test their blood oxygen levels may be a good, inexpensive way to prevent asymptomatic patients from entering a building. Another technique deals with infrared cameras, generally placed at the entrance of buildings, allowing for the detection of feverish people. This concerns a very limited segment of contagious people, less than 5%, but still remains a very interesting and affordable way to convey the message to your occupants that you care about them. Now we'll take a closer look at some of the reactive measures available to us. Despite all of the precautions that we've just reviewed, there is no such thing as zero risk. There's always the possibility of a situation where asymptomatic individuals may have unknowingly transmitted the virus to other occupants. In such a case, which is rare, as soon as the infected person becomes aware of it, it would be, of course, advisable to warn people who've been in contact with that infected person in the last 15 days. These individuals could then be asked to go and get tested in turn and to quarantine themselves in order to prevent the spread of the virus. With Distat Controls technology, this is now possible thanks to the infrastructure used for the indoor positioning feature implemented within the MyPersonify Workplace app, for instance. It is now possible to add a software layer for contact tracing, which would allow location data to be saved temporarily and securely. If necessary, the organization's HR department could therefore know the list of phones and thus associated to specific individuals, and thus determine who has been in contact with each other in a space. Now, in spite of all of this, the real challenge here is to convince building occupants that the premises are healthy and that it is safe to walk through the door. This effort of persuasion requires the provision of a mix of information in an easy-to-read dashboard available, for instance, at the entrance of a building or directly from the building occupant's telephone. The dashboard needs to identify, firstly, the procedures that have been put in place in the premises, i.e. the disinfection routines or social distancing rules, as well as a simplified view of the status of the building management system. For instance, is the ventilation system working optimally? Is air disinfection by UV lamp operational? Things of this nature. The digitalized floor plan, whether it's part of a dashboard or a mobile app like MyPersonify Workplace, can actually be enhanced with new types of POIs or points of interest to make them more interactive and in real time to visualize the information specific to safe movement and occupancy of the premises. For example, in order to respect social distancing, you can add virtual crosses, big red X's, to desks that should not be occupied. Digital floor plans are the right and efficient way to inform occupants about the location and status of health stations, for instance, the quantity or level of hand sanitizer, the number of available masks, and so forth, and even to visually indicate surfaces that have recently been disinfected. And so we've looked at all of these proactive and reactive measures, and you probably ask yourself, well, has anyone actually been able to deploy these technologies in a commercial building to make them healthy and trustworthy for the occupants? In fact, Distac Controls is quite proud to support many institutional end user customers, property developers, and owners from all over the world in deploying such solutions on a daily basis. Here you can see an assortment of projects that we've done around the globe, with many more available for reference on our website. However, in the context of the local Mexican market, I wanted to highlight a specific project that has been executed in the region. One of our local and trusted system integrator partners, EMBA Group in Mexico, was able to assist Jabal with a key manufacturing facility of theirs in Guadalajara by deploying our technology, not only to make the facility more healthy and trustworthy, but also to provide energy savings. Since inception, estimates show upwards of 30% savings on utility spend through local energy monitoring and verification. Due to this success, Jabal has actually entrusted the Distac technology to be deployed in 6 of their 12 facilities across Mexico to date, and are planning to retrofit the remaining facilities over the next 3 years. If anyone's heard of the 3-30-300 rule, it dictates that on average, $3 per square foot is spent on energy in a commercial building, $30 per square foot is what it costs to rent or lease that space, and $300 per square foot is the worker productivity generated in that space. Today, Distac's technology impacts all 3 aspects, whether it is to save on energy costs, increase asset value of the building in order to lease it for more, or to make the occupants more comfortable, i.e. using contactless comfort control, and thereby allowing workers to be more productive. Now, the ultimate value proposition of the Distac offering today allows for end users to standardize on 4 key pillars. The first being innovative and open technology standards that allow you to future-proof your commercial buildings. Secondly, systematic project execution with competitive procurement options through our worldwide network of system integrator partners. Thirdly, to excel at asset management with a focus on sustainability and energy analytics, allowing you to actually reduce your CapEx and OpEx costs by harnessing data and intelligent insights, as well as the power of fault detection and diagnostics, AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and cloud-based service platforms. And finally, to deliver a rich and unique occupant experience, including contactless solutions to the tenants and users of that space. And so the current health crisis will hopefully end sooner than later, and it is difficult to know if and when the next wave or pandemic will occur. This is why it's important to note that while the measures we've outlined here will serve to reassure occupants of the trustworthiness of their favorite buildings, most will also provide a healthier environment, opening the door to certifications such as WELL or FitWell, which help classify buildings according to their level of well-being, and in turn increase the attractiveness and value of your assets. Each building is unique, and each organization occupying all or part of a commercial space will have specific needs. Whatever the constraints, the Distac Controls organization and our extended network of partners around the world are available to help meet their needs. So to conclude, I'd like to thank you all very much for joining us today on the session. Please don't hesitate to visit our website or social media platforms, and be sure to download our white paper on some of the subjects discussed here today. Until then, be safe and have a wonderful remainder of the TechWeek Expo. And thank you again to the AMERIC organization for allowing us to speak today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan Sen. I think this is a very important topic, because for this issue about the pandemic, the touchless or touch-free buildings are gonna be a very important aspect that the buildings has to improve or has to set in our space work, and to take advantage of the IoT technology, and very important. I'm going to say that the TechWeek is going to be a reiterative event for the next year. I mean, the next event is going to be a TechWeek, but focus in HVAC system. You are welcome the next year to talk
that
more
would be
about
a great opportunity.
topic.
I really appreciate the invitation. I will take you guys up on it.
And one more question.
Thank you,
one
Ryan.
more comment, Ryan. I think that the purpose of this TechWeek also, and the relationship between Quebec and AMERIC that start this year, few months before. We would like to know if you have in Mexico already distributors, and what it would be great is that we can make a database between these companies, for example, this tech, and understand a little bit more what exactly you need in order to get some business meetings here in Mexico, and continue with this. And as Luis told some moment ago, the purpose is that maybe in 2021, not maybe, that in 2021, we will meet again and maybe talk about what in this year you have done in Mexico. That would be great for us, and of course all of you have here in Mexico not only friend, also business person that will do all the possible in order to be in touch between the companies from Quebec and the companies in America. Thank you, Ryan, and excellent the presentation, and also excellent the service you are
Thank you,
providing.
Mr. Ryan Sen, International Sales and Vice President of Distech Controls. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
The next company is Monsieur Alexander Darche. I love French, but je ne parle français. But this is structural health monitoring and seismic assessment technologies. The name of the company is SenseQuake. Please.
Great, thank you so much, Luis. Here, I can share my screen here. Excellent. So thank you so much for having us today. I really appreciate it, and I'm really excited to be sharing our technology with the whole of TechWeek. And thank you also to the organizers. I know it's very difficult to organize things online nowadays, especially with different time zones involved. So it's much appreciated. So as was mentioned earlier, so I'm Alex Darche. I'm a project manager at SenseQuake, and I'll be presenting you today our structural health monitoring and seismic assessment technologies that we're deploying in Canada and the United States, and hoping to deploy in Mexico shortly as well. So I guess to begin to give you a brief overview of SenseQuake, we've been active for 5 years now, and we're based here in Montreal, Quebec. And essentially, we've developed multiple technologies that address some key issues in the engineering and construction sectors. And we've been using these technologies through multiple projects on our own and through our partners across the United States. Essentially, when starting the company and developing these technologies, we want to answer a few key issues. The first being the aging infrastructure across North America. Every year, more and more bridges and buildings need to stop being used because of their age and the risk that they pose to the safety of people. And we want to find an innovative way of dealing with that, especially because the more traditional approaches for building assessment are visual inspections, looking at plans, and building assumption-based models. And we want to figure out a better way to deal with this. We also saw the market shifting. We saw building owners and engineers more aware of risk than ever and getting more interested in the structural health monitoring market, installing sensors on buildings, bridges, and the market was growing every single year. What we decided to develop are 3 key technology streams to address different issues within this market. Our first being our LARSE and 3D SAM system. So it's a combination of wireless sensors and software to extract the structural properties of a building in a few hours. Then we have our shake zone system for vibration monitoring near construction sites or sensitive equipment. And finally, our latest product, Shake Log, for permanent health monitoring, a system that you can leave on a structure for many years and make sure that the structure is in good shape and make sure that there's no hidden damages after an earthquake. Today in this presentation, I'll be focusing on our LARSE system and what it can offer for both engineering firms doing structural work and building owners wanting to know there's the seismic performance of their building. To start, the whole system revolves around sensing data, so real information from a site. And how we do this is we collect it using these small wireless sensors. These are very easy to use. Take a half hour to an hour to learn how to operate. And essentially we move them around the structure at key points. There's no need to drill this into any structural members. It simply sits on the floor for 15 to 20 minutes, collects the data, and can be moved somewhere else in the building. All the information from all these sensors are highly synchronized, and the sensors are very low noise, so we're able to really get the raw motion and ambient vibrations of a structure. And we bring all this information into our 3D SAM software. So this is a software we've developed internally and allows us to extract the building characteristics of the structure. This includes the frequency, mode, shape, and damping ratios. And any experienced engineer, especially in the seismic world, will know that these are key characteristics to understand the behavior of a building. On top of that, we've developed a patented seismic-based seismic performance analysis method that allows us to directly get a seismic performance based on this sensing test. So as I mentioned at the beginning, this system allows us to do both structural and seismic work. And I've picked 2 of our larger projects to demonstrate how both of these have been helpful in both cases. So to start with our structural applications, as I mentioned, we can do what we call a baseline analysis. This is extracting those dynamic characteristics, and it acts as a snapshot of the condition of the structure at that point in time. So it's really, we're using the building information to dictate what it is saying instead of making any assumptions. Then we have non-destructive condition assessment tests. These are localized tests that we can compare different building portions, different wings, different levels, and see how they react with the rest of the structure. And finally, all of this information can be brought into a more traditional engineering model in order to calibrate it and make sure that the results match up with what's happening in reality. The way that the workflow of this process begins with the test design. So we look at the building, we decide which key locations are the most critical to get the important information. Once we decide that, we do the on-site test. As I mentioned, it's a very easy test to do. We move the sensors around to those key locations, and a whole building can be tested in a few hours. Then we do some data analysis using 3D SAM to extract all that information, do some comparative tests, and make sure that the structure is in good condition, and to extract the proper information. And finally, we package all this information into a report. And this report not only has the results, but an interpretation of the results. Based on our knowledge and our experience with buildings, we're able to tell, based on the mode shapes, if there are any inconsistencies and what that might mean to the structural system. Here you can see one of our sensors deployed. As I mentioned, it's simply placed on the structural platform and takes only a few hours. One thing I should note also is that we do not need to halt any building operations. So whether it's a building, you don't need to remove everyone from the building for us to test it, or a bridge, you don't need to halt traffic. We can get the information regardless. And I guess to demonstrate the use of this technology, I'll look at one of the projects that we've worked on in Canada here. So this is the Parliament building in Ottawa. And this building is a very historic building, a huge landmark for the country. And they're actually in the process of rehabilitating the structure, doing a seismic and structural rehabilitation. And this is going to take multiple years, and they've already been working on it for many years, studying the building and getting a good game plan on how to rehabilitate it. What we were able to do for this structure in the study phase was do 30 different vibration tests across the structure. So one global test, how the global baseline of the structure is behaving, and then 29 isolated tests across the structure to see how different parts are moving, how the towers compared to the rest of the building, how different wings compared, how different floors were behaving. And all this took a few technicians 7 days on site to complete. What we were able to do is find 5 major issues throughout the structure that the engineering team that was doing the study completely missed by doing more traditional methods. And at the end of the day, we were able to help them calibrate their model by 30%. So at the end of this whole process, they were in a much better place to understand the building behavior and create a much stronger and optimized retrofit of the structure. Some of the major takeaways for this project was that the team was able to reduce the amount of investigations needed. So in a more traditional project, you would break some walls, break some floors, and find different properties of different materials across the structure. What we were able to do was save them time and money by focusing on the different locations where we saw these inconsistencies, so they could use less investigations and get better results from them. Not only that, but some of the inconsistencies we found wouldn't have been able to be identified through more traditional methods. And finally, as I mentioned, all this information we gathered, these reports we gave to the team, and they were able to construct a strong rehabilitation of the structure so that in the next 5 to 10 years, as the construction is going on, they're sure of the work that's being done, and there won't be any hidden surprises. Moving on to our seismic applications. So the seismic assessment of a structure begins with that first step. So a sensing test of the structure where we move the sensors around and collect the data. From there, our patented software allows us to do a seismic performance of the structure. So what will be the reaction of the building in a seismic event? And then do further analysis for component level. So which building objects or components are going to be more damaged? And what would that look like in terms of cost, in terms of rebuild time, etc. And the way this goes, as I mentioned, we start with a baseline. We start with that first sensing test and those different characteristics that we extract from the structure. Then we apply ground motions based on the location. So what kind of earthquakes is this building going to experience in this process? And finally, based on our patented approach and libraries of information we have, we're able to correlate the information we received at the beginning to what the actual response of the structure will be. How much will the building shift in the earthquake event? What kind of accelerations are you going to see at each floor, at each location on the structure? And from that, we're able to understand what the performance will be. We do this with HAZUS and FEMA P58, 2 codes that were created in the United States that compare the performance of a structure with the response. And from that, we get the performance, the component level damage, the cost of these damages, and how long it would take to repair everything and bring the structure back to its initial state. So this is a very strong process that gives a lot of information. And by using a sensing test, you know that the base of the information is very strong and no hypotheses were made to get to these final results. And a good example of this is the Canadian Supreme Court. So this is another project we work closely with the engineering team on. And for starters, we did a baseline test and we're able to compare the results that we received from the site with their engineering model and help them calibrate it and explain to them a few questions they had about the structure. As a second step, we did a seismic performance analysis. So this gave us an idea of what performance we had on each floor, where the damages were going to be located, so that we could compare it to what the engineering team was getting from their more traditional approach. Here you can see some of the damage predictions that we were able to make with this kind of process. So at the bottom here, you can see different components that you would find in a normal building. HVAC systems, water piping, suspended ceilings. And based on their location across the building, we're able to see here what the damage levels would be in an event of an earthquake. So this allows a building operator and owner to know exactly where the damage is going to be concentrated and what they can do to minimize the damage. Of course, when some of these systems fail or fall off a structure, it could cause more damage at different components that might be more critical, amplifying the need for repair and the damage cost. So knowing exactly where these different issues are, a building owner is able to really fine-tune their retrofit and reduce damage costs over time. Not only that, but this is a slightly different application. For another one of our clients who had a multitude of different buildings, since the test is very rapid, more cost efficient than a more traditional building evaluation, what we're able to do is conduct multiple tests on various buildings very rapidly, and then present a building owner a chart, as you see on the right here. So this chart allows a building owner who might have a budget concern to know which buildings to retrofit and to take care of first, to give a building owner a good idea of where the risk lies and what to do with it. Overall, the project takeaways for the Supreme Court and our work there is really we were able to get the performance of the structure in all of its components, tell the building owner exactly where the damage was going to be to refine the retrofit that was taking place. One thing that was interesting is we didn't need to create a very detailed model like you would in a more traditional engineering sense. So there was no need for a finite element model, knowing all the details of the different columns and beams and floors. We were able to do it simply from this sensing test. And finally, all this information again helped the renovation and calibrate their model. So overall, to I guess sum up the benefits of this Larze and 3D SAM technology is that, for one, it's based on real information. There's no guesswork. There's no going through old plans or finding the original constructors and seeing if they have original plans. It's based on the information from the site, and it's done rapidly. Not only that, but all this information in a renovation, a retrofit, a repair can be used by the engineer to know exactly what needs to be done. So they remove some of the guesswork. They're able to optimize what needs to be done and save costs and reduce any over-engineering. And before I finish up, I'd like to touch on our two other technologies quickly. Here we have our shake zone system for vibration monitoring. And as I mentioned, this has been proven very useful near construction sites or for hospitals or other places where you might have delicate and fragile and critical equipment. We can leave the sensors on the floor or on a site for multiple weeks at a time, and all the information is sent to our cloud dashboard for people to be able to see the information in real time. And if it's the vibration levels pass a certain threshold, they're able to receive emails or SMS saying that an alarm has been breached so that they can act quickly and minimize the amount of damage. And finally, our shake log system. As I mentioned, this is a permanent system that can be installed on a structure. And in combination with our LARSE temporary test, it can become a very powerful tool for not only knowing what the building experienced during an earthquake event, but over time, seeing how the building's signature changes, and to be able to pick up little inconsistencies very rapidly before they become a larger issue and end up costing a building owner a lot larger of a sum of money. And again, all of this information is sent to our cloud dashboard so our clients can have the easy access to the information and be able to make the proper decisions and reduce risk. So thank you very much for listening. I hope it was interesting for everyone. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Very interesting. As you know, in Mexico, this is a very
great market for this product.
We don't know the structure in the building that we live or work. I think it's a very important. Thank you for your presentation.
Well, thank you very much.
Please, 1 minute, Alexander. Do you already have operations in Mexico?
Not yet. So what we normally do in other markets is we partner with a local firm, normally a structural engineering firm, and we offer our services and our technologies directly through these local firms. So right now we have 3 partners in the United States who we work very closely with, who offer our services directly to their clients, and they're able to expand what they're able to normally offer from a more traditional structural engineering company.
Okay. Well, in Mexico, we have many connections for this, many connections with structural engineers. And let me tell you that Americ, the last couple of years, made a regulation in Mexico for buildings. And well, as I know, we're gonna do an update of this regulation. And about this regulation, we just see many things that are on the ecosystem, and this and I would like to be in touch with you in order to understand perfectly your solution, because I think we can make some partnership with your solution and understand, and also bring the people interested in this, and also the specialists.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, in this moment, well, we have some questions for Ryan, but in this moment, I was telling about this regulation, and the people who lead the regulation is Roberto Sanchez, and he's writing on YouTube. The first, he's writing, Alexander, he says, this platform can be connected to actual buildings. What is needed to set in advance, to whom we can contact to you? Well, the first question is, this platform can be connected in existing buildings or just in new buildings?
So exactly. So this could be used in existing or brand new buildings. So when a building is, what we'll first do is come in, do a test of the building, understand the behavior, and then we can install an optimized system with less sensors, but still getting a strong information base. So it could be applied to buildings, bridges, what have you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Alexander Darche. He is the project manager for the company since Quake. Thank you
very much.
Well, the next company is Diamond Off with Mr. Bernard Tetu. Nice to see you again, Bernard.
Nice seeing you. So let me just start very quickly. This morning we wanted to start presenting what a lot of people call actually smart city applications, but we chose to call it urban asset management because smart city can mean many things to many people. In fact, you have smart city applications for municipal and political management of certain topics, so on and so forth. So we chose to coin it in the wording urban asset management. And I'll just slowly bring you into the topic. You were a few minutes ago mentioning the terminology IoT, or Internet of Things. This is something that we're starting to see in every day in our life. What we're doing actually is right now doing some remote presentation. So we're starting to see a lot of remote management application monitoring of things without ever moving around. And many years ago, we started as a company in lighting management, so inside the buildings, to realize that there's actually a fantastic application to do it, but across an entire city. And once you've done that, then you started establishing a beautiful network of telecommunication positioned everywhere on streetlights. So, we kept adding various type of applications, such as license plate recognition, little cameras with AI in it, to sewer level detection or digital signage, but always coming from the position that you start establishing. In order to roll out a smart city application, you need to be everywhere and create a ubiquitous telecommunication network. So what we now got to is to start with what we call an IoT management platform. So a lot of times people will say, well, I'm not sure where to start from, and it is absolutely correct to think of that story. It is complicated. What do I need? How do I actually manage my applications? And therefore, it's the platform that has to adapt to let the users create various type of sensors that you will use. So, for example, we don't know what kind of sensors will actually exist in 2 or 3 years from now. If you start a smart city application, you want something that will be future-proof. So, starting from the lighting control, covering very large territories, and then adding other solution was our way to actually come to this IoT story. As you can notice, we've created new applications for parking management solution. Parking is one of the smart city topic that is actually traffic costs a lot to the efficiency of our cities. Security is also something very important. Maybe not in Mexico, definitely. We're probably the same, Mexico and Canada. We don't have many guns, but our middle neighbor probably do have a certain situation with gunshots. So we're talking gunshot recognition, and not necessarily outdoor, but definitely indoor. And then it is Ryan was talking about the environmental sensors that you can use. So yes, the CO2 concentration in buildings, but we're also thinking of dispersion of toxic gases outdoor or in various environments. So all in all, how could we actually create that type of platform? Just quickly, I know the topic was really for buildings, but we sort of looked outside the buildings, creating things like this. So this is a very large, actually one of the largest car dealership in the United States. And if you can imagine all this lighting that they have, they've realized energy saving for in this case $143,000 US just in energy by better controlling the lights and individually controlling them, as you can see on that little picture. So adding intelligence.
Bernard, just to tell you that we don't see the screen right now.
You do not see the screen. Okay. Let me just make sure. This is from the beginning?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
So we can share it. Maybe Adrian can share it for you.
No, I'll do
if
it
you want.
from my side. Can you see it now?
Yes, we can see it right now.
Okay. Thank you for telling me. This was the origins of our offering. So starting with smaller sets of lighting control to realize that actually, yes, we could apply it to indoor venues, shopping malls, for example, where you add smartness, intelligence to the way you control your lighting based on occupancy, based on actually level of occupancy and or presence, and so on. But to grow to something as big as this, so this is actually the entirety of the island of Montreal. And we're talking, in this case, right now we're at 97,000 fixtures, so individual control points that we cover throughout the city and offer, a beautiful dashboard on remote things or remote assets that we can control and monitor, and basically create optimized scenarios and definitely optimized processes for the maintenance. So when we talk about controls, typically people see energy saving, and as you may know, Quebec is famous for its hydroelectricity. We can create electricity very, very cheap. But, we still have very nice savings just in street lighting. But one of the best saving element of the whole story is really from the maintenance. You don't have people running around the streets at night, two guys in a pickup truck trying to figure out where the problems are. The problems 15 seconds after they happen. The other very important aspect is we use street lighting for security purposes. So very, very quickly, we can now take care of the maintenance aspects and do it on a humongous scale. So our footprint, we've covered projects in 6 countries. A few of them are in Mexico, near the city of Leon. There's a long stretch of highways there. We've been around for almost 15 years now, completed very close to 340 projects. And the product is designed and manufactured in Canada, but this is one of the message I wanted to deliver during this presentation. As we say, we're open for business, teaming up with a local presence in Mexico, and this kind of technology can definitely be also manufactured with a Mexican partner. If I think this is really important that it becomes a win-win situation. So the kind of projects that we've done, we've covered real estate a lot of times on university campuses. So you can imagine that. Here's an interesting statistic. For street lighting and outdoor area lighting, you typically have 1 per every 13 people. So for the city of Mexico, you have somewhere around 1.2 million streetlights. Fantastic market. Other places that we've successfully developed or deployed are in large parking deck installations. Some of them, like I see Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport, is as big as a fairly good-sized village. So extremely interesting. Why? Because we use presence detectors or motion detectors and tie it with the lighting and basically monitor it for safety purposes first, and then for energy savings. So lighting, what does it look like? This is exactly the dashboard. It's for the city of Montreal, where you have visibility on every single piece of asset. You can zoom in there and monitor things, and it gives you real-time feedback and reporting and so on. So it's IoT on a very, very large scale. One of the way we've been using this is also to create a platform where you not only serve one city at a time, but you can actually serve hundreds of smaller towns and villages and manage the system through an ESCO, an energy saving company, or an engineering firm, or an electrical firm. So this week with Olivia and Adrian, we were talking to a company who is local in Mexico, and we're looking for a partner to actually manage those deployments. So what does it look like? We use wireless mesh network. The little streetlight sensors that you can see on the top right are actually installed on every single streetlight. They mesh together, they talk to each other, they create a very rugged network of telecommunication, and they end up talking to a gateway, which is connected through the internet to a server, and then the users connect to the platform using web browsers. So, you can be anywhere in the world and monitor things. Why do we do that? I mentioned it. It's energy saving is one element. Another very important element is the maintenance and ensuring security with lighting. And then once you've done that, basically you get, visualization. You have different users that have different rights of controlling things and monitoring their own territories and so on. So very, very quickly, it just looks like that. There are little hardware pieces that you can put on top of streetlights or inside decorative streetlights, or even go as far as solar power devices. Communication. So the importance, one of the drawback or actually stumbling block of IoT is the confidence in various proprietary protocols and networks and security. So we just decided to embrace many different protocols and stick to the highest standards of security. And for those who are in the building management, it's also compatible with BACnet IP. And then from this network, we started solving problems with the mobility of large cities. One of the things that creates the most problems for traffics in the morning and at night is the parking lots. You know, you're searching for a parking lot, you will slow down, and then 75 cars behind you, you've created a long line of traffic just by slowing down and etc. If we can accelerate the flow, either from searching for available spaces on the side of the street, which we call curbside, or even entering parking lots and accelerating the flow, we've just created an immense effect on traffic through, you know, downtown areas. So just quick statistics, but in large cities, people spend somewhere around 20 minutes per day just searching for parking decks. It's a very big problem in cities. Note that those sensors actually share the exact same network. Obviously, and I'm talking about the network that sits on the streetlights. You can build proprietary systems or a closed system for, you know, each application. But if a city decides to make it part of the grand scheme of things, it shares the exact same communication infrastructure. I will skip this, but as you can see, the identification of free parking spaces, identification of available spaces and statistics, and then you know, from that information, you have real-time availability, you build statistics, you can improve your process, etc., and up to the point of optimizing the cost per period of the day in those parking decks. Dimonoff also has, and I mentioned, we're talking business. Dimonoff has a division where we design electronics. So this is a real case. We've teamed up with a company that does the design of first-class entertainment system in Airbus planes. So we design part of that system, and that basically is all about IoT. So Dimonoff has this division for hardware development with a strong qualification in Linux operating system and distribution tools, so Yocto and Wind River and so on, designs of cloud and web platforms. So as you've seen in the system, sometimes the challenges are to scale things to the reality of big deployments. And obviously firmware development, because we design hardware. Hardware nowadays are, you know, a mix of, hardware things, but with a lot of smart design in them, and this is how we've grown. So one example is this Swiss company. They're in the pipeline inspection, non-destructive testing. And for a few years now, we've been constantly developing from the mobile apps to the hardware for pipeline expansion joint processes or monitoring processes. to this company that does power distribution units. So if I have a clear message, it is that we are actively looking for partners in Mexico. I had the opportunity many years ago to have a company in Mexico City, and we would very much like to find this partner to bring our technology and roll out smart city application and IoT in your part of the world.
Thank you, Bernard. I saw something about Mexicali City. Mexicali City is in the north of our country, is in the border of the United States and Mexico. Do you did something in that city?
No, we did something in near Leon. There's a city called San Francisco de Rigon, if I can remember. And that project was a very long stretch of highway, and they were doing the street lighting conversion to LED. And it's always the best moment, because you switch from sodium lighting to this new type of lighting while you're installing with a bucket truck. Perfect timing. There's not going to be two different installation times. So all you have to do is literally twist it, and voila, the installation is like 10 seconds per street light. And once you've done that, the network self-establishes and we start talking to things. So we know, Justrin, I see you online, but we've heard of pilot projects and verification of new technologies. I don't know if you can comment on that, Justrin.
Yeah, the project is to look at a new standard for lighting and also for control. So we're looking at trying to introduce our pilot into that project. So after the trial, hopefully people will see the advantage of using our technology. So it's not what we know. There's 3 or 4 companies that were invited, and it's going on at the moment.
Okay.
It's very interesting to show us, Bernard. And well, just for keeping like a certain order, I would like to Hadrian to be to take this relationship to the next level, because in specific, this product that you showed a few minutes ago is kind of the core of my company. I understand perfect the solution, and I know where the market and the future goes in terms of energy data. So I will be very glad to have a conversation with you. But as I told you, maybe get another meeting just for having more benefits between Quebec and Americ, and then also, and then we have for sure some meetings, because it's very interesting this what you show us, and for sure that we'll have so many things to do. Thank you, Bernard, and very interesting.
More than welcome.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bernard Tetu. He is CEO from the company Diamond Off. Thank you, Bernard. Well, but now we are going to read the questions. I don't know, Andre, could you help me with that?
Yes, I have. Well, the first question is, where is Ryan? He's gone, right?
Yes, Ryan had an emergency, so I'm really sorry he had to leave. But we'll compile all the questions and make sure that we answer everything.
That's okay. Well, let me hear.
Thank you.
Well, I thought, Hadrian, you was gonna read the question, right?
I couldn't find any more besides the one for Ryan. Do you see any other one?
It's just the same that I'm doing.
I
here
think
in-
there's one for Alexandre, Robert Sanchez. This platform can be connected to actual buildings. What is needed to set in advance to whom we can contact to you?
Yeah, so I mean, I touched upon that earlier, that, you know, new buildings, existing buildings, the system works the same. It can be useful for both cases. And in terms of if anyone's interested in, you know, learning more, or if they have any ideas for projects or applications, you can feel free to contact us through our website or through LinkedIn, and we'll be happy to have a meeting and discuss further.
Yes, just remember that this video is going to be in our channel in YouTube for the future access. And I don't, Adrian, I don't know if you have something. Adrian, we work together with this Foro.
Do you see my screen now?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we see.
Okay, so I just wanted to share with you the contact information from Alex, Ryan, and from Jimenov. So this was taken from their own presentations. Of course, you can always go back and on this video that will be available on YouTube and watch again each presentation. But in case you have specific doubts, you have their contacts there. So in case you have any questions, you can contact them directly.
Okay, I'm going to speak now in Spanish. Aquí están los contactos de las empresas que acabamos de ver. La verdad, todo fue muy interesante y muy aplicable. Como les comentaba, este evento va a ser reiterativo el próximo año y va a estar enfocado en cada sector de Americ. Tenemos el sector de eléctrico, el sector de climatización, HVAC, el sector hidráulico y el sector de telecomunicaciones en general. Well, thank you very much for your presentations. Very interesting. Bernard, Alexander, Adrian, thank you for everything. Olivia, Jostran, thank you. Andre.
Thank you for a very good organization. Well done.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Luis.
Thank you very much for letting us showcase our innovations. We look forward to collaborating with you and organizing meetings with whomever you deem necessary inside Americ, so we can keep the conversations going.
And I think it's important to say that everyone can also be in contact with the Quebec delegation in Mexico City, and we'll make sure to put you in contact with the right person if you have any question as well. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Claro que sí.
Thank you, everybody. Gracias a todos.
Muchas gracias a todos.
Gracias, cuídense.
Gracias. Igualmente, que estén muy bien.
Take care.
See you later.
See you.
Hasta luego.